afternoon and welcome to this webcast, 5 Strategies to Increase Sales. I'm Dean Seddon, CEO of Maverick, and I am joined by a special guest today.
If I can get my voice out, which is Vasco Botello, and I'm the Vice President of EMEA at Maverick.
So Vasco looks after our European, Middle East and African regions of Maverick. Graham is joining us. I have to say it every week. Graham is the President of the United States.
But his name is not Joe.
No, his name's not Joe. Graham is our president. He oversees and runs our US office, and he's based out in Minneapolis, and hopefully you will see him in the chat. And I just committed the most fatal error of leaving my phone on ring, noise on, and it beeped as I did it, so apologies. So we're live just a few minutes early just to get everything set up, make sure the feed's working. I'll get a nod from the tech people to say that we're good and going. And then we'll start tonight's session, and we're going to look at 5 simple strategies that you can use to increase sales. And pretty much, Vasco, sales has gone digital now, hasn't it?
Yeah, we have sort of moved from analogical to digital. And the great problem nowadays is that we're all selling like we did 150 years ago. Everybody's analogical. So now getting into this digital world has become tough because people are muddled up, they are worried, and they don't know how to apply things. So this is why you are here today.
You know, yeah, and if you think about it, in the old school world, you'd meet somebody, you'd shake hands with them, you'd look them in the eyes, you'd do all of that stuff, you'd read the body language, you'd be able to gauge a lot of this stuff. And now, through a digital medium, until you've got that first call, and even on a first call on Zoom or what have you, you can't really read people as easily.
Yep.
We're not trained to read body language through a screen as easily.
Well, one thing you're going to show tonight is how do you warm up people and how you nurture them so that when you get into this sort of conversation, you're not a stranger.
Yeah.
And that becomes a key point.
Yeah, and if you're joining this, whether you're a small business or a large business, there are elements in this that will apply for any size business in any service sector, vertical, industry, what have you. Because the key thing is you have to convince people that you are the right choice. It's really that simple. You've got to convince people that your product, your service, you as an individual are the best choice in order to do business. So what we've collated is 5 strategies that you can put together that will generate the leads, the brand awareness, and the opportunities that you can convert.
And the great thing about these 5 points that you're going to talk about tonight is that they are easy to apply.
Yes, anybody can do it. So if you're a small business owner, a solopreneur, or you're the marketing manager of a large corporate or a sales manager of the large corporate, you can implement these. And more, the whole sales and marketing piece needs to join up.
Yep.
In a digital medium, a digital world, it all has to join up. Your ads, your lead magnets, your content, your outreach, all of it has to come together and dovetail. Otherwise what happens is and I said this in a session earlier, you build people up, you build their interest levels up, and then you dump them on an email newsletter.
Yeah, and probably badly written.
Don't say that, you might upset some people watching. So let's have a look at what we're going to cover. It looks like the stream's all okay. If you've got questions from tonight's session or today's session, what I'd encourage you to do is drop us an email. Our email address is, let me just get this right, there.
Yep.
So it's hello@maverick.com. Drop us an email if you want to know how can we implement these to increase our sales in more detail. We'll happily jump on a call and give you a free kind of expanded version of how this could apply to you. We've also got tonight, today, Dean, we've got the resource to this webinar, which is I think it's about 6 or 7 page PDF, which actually expands this. So again, if you'd like a copy of that, drop us an email.
And in a minute, you'll be showing that again. And I would suggest to all of you to ask for this, because what is in it, it's rather important, and it may help you make some very, very good decisions.
Yeah. Sales, sales, sales. We join marketing and sales together. And if we implement some of these strategies, not all will be relevant for you, but one of them or two of them or three of them will be definitely relevant that you can implement. They will help you build a pipeline, establish your value in the market, and onboard more customers.
And interesting, because I come from a generation where marketing and marketeers did they thing.
Vasco, and some people watching this will think we're the same age.
No, we're not. He's much older. But, you know, when I started in marketing and in new business development, we had a complete separation of both things. Marketeers did their thing, and the salespeople did their thing. And that has changed completely now. And it makes life much easier in businesses.
If you can overcome the politics, yes,
Yeah.
it does make life much easier. So let's get into it. Just a quick thing. We've got slides, but really we're going to talk around the slides. We don't want to give you death by PowerPoint. Oh, there's a younger and better looking version of me. So my goal in this session really is to give you the 5 strategies that you can implement, and that you can implement them immediately. You don't have to go, oh, let's make a 10-year plan, or, you know, this is going to take forever. You could actually start to implement these immediately, and they will help you, as it says there, generate leads and sales. And I'm Dean Seddon, and this is Vasco Botello. And of course, do all the likes, the comments, the thumbs up, the subscribes, the follows. Have I missed anything? That really helps us get this free webcast out there, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's really good if you want to share it. If you get value from this, make a post about it. That would be awesome. Tell people you got value from Maverick. That would be great.
And if you've got questions, just email us.
Yeah. So this is the copy. I'll put this on the big screen so you can see it. This is the resource that accompanies this session today. It's free. You can have this for free. I'll put the email address on the screen so you can see that too. So if you want to get a copy of this, just go hello@maverick.com and we will email that to you. And again, if you've got any questions from the session, please do drop us an email. The team will be happy to answer any questions. And if you want to get on a call with our team to talk about how we can implement this strategy or how we can help you implement it, you can do that too. Great, let's get on with this. So the point number 1 I want to look at is what we call hyper-personalized email. Now, I'm sure if you're like me, every day you will get generic sales pitch emails, that look like, smell like, feel like they've been written as a template and your name and your company has been dropped in. Is it just me who gets them?
No, I get hundreds of them, and I think everybody can relate to them.
Half of them aren't relevant. The other half look like we've seen them before. And it's just like, why are people doing this? And I'll tell you why people are doing it. Email to this day is still one of the most powerful tools for a salesperson. It's absolutely unkillable. If you think about social media and all of the other things, it's a direct channel to a decision maker. The problem is people get lazy with it. And so what happens is tools have been brought about that allow people to do things that they're not clever enough to do. In that, you can send an email, you can collect data, you can do all that stuff, you can fire out 200 of them a day, and you'll get 1 or 2 bites, and that seems successful because 1 or 2 bites seems good. But
they also got something in common. It's full of waffle.
Waffle, generic sales pitches, no real value, and no real insight that makes people see, actually, somebody's taken the time to put this to me. And in our other sessions, we talk about one of the principles of persuasion is reciprocity. And if you don't build this into your email sequences, if you don't build this into your outreach, what will happen is people will go, you did, this is all subconscious because we're talking to human beings. You didn't put the time in to reach me, so why should I put the time in to hear you out? So that template message might make it easier for you to send them. It might make it easier for you to reach more people, but its effectiveness is poor.
So it becomes a bit of what we usually say, spray and pray.
Yes.
Just see if something sticks.
Spray and pray. And something will stick.
Yeah.
So that one thing that stuck becomes the justification for continuing the activity.
Yeah. And then I think what sort of worries me, and I think it worries you as well, is that they get 1 or 2 bites and is super happy.
Yeah, not realizing that 1 or 2 bites also means that 1 or 2 people have said, no thanks, don't talk to me ever again. 1 or 2 people have gone, oh, what's this crap? And others are just training. You're training your prospects to ignore you. Yeah.
And the thing is, you do this once. When you again approach the same people, they've got really no time for you.
No.
Because you've tired them.
So hyper-personalized email is not all of what we've just described. Hyper-personalized email is about taking the time to send one email to the right person, and you've done your homework. And we do this ourselves. We have what we call the presentation emails, and we send them, and the effectiveness is incredible in terms of getting the right attention of the right decision makers and converting that into first calls, because we didn't just make a GIF and superimpose the prospect's name on it going, yeah, which there's some novelty to that, but to be honest with you, it's not serious business really, is it?
No.
You're selling a $250,000 product and you're sending a picture of yourself holding a mug with their name on it. So, really? There's a novelty to it, and I suppose it works in a smaller business setting, but if you're trying to sell something of high value service to a business, they want more than the guy who had the mug with the name on. So these hyper-personalized emails are very targeted, very well researched. They might take you 20 minutes to put one together. Yes, there's a framework to them, but there's no template to them. And so you write, you research, see what's going on in their company, see what's going on in their news, their press, their blogs, and you can craft a very well thought out email with maybe an attachment which is personalized, and send it to them. And the effectiveness, instead of you going for your 1 or 2 bites, that out of say 100, well, that would be optimistic, 1 or 2 bites out of 100. But instead of it being 1 or 2 bites out of 100, you're now talking 10 or 15 bites out of 100. So hyper-personalized email is highly effective, but it is a one-to-one tool. I've seen it used, one example of this, I've seen it used where a company's done mock-ups and sent them to people with the research and said, we saw this, your product in X store, or we saw this happening in your business, and we thought we could give you some ideas of things that would improve it.
And it's a bite with a might.
Yeah.
That gets people motivated to say, I need to talk to these guys.
Yeah, you've created enough curiosity that you've took time. People appreciate when you take time and effort. Even if they go thanks but no thanks, they take time to appreciate it, and they'll give you a fair hearing. And if you create enough curiosity, instead of blasting people with how amazing you are, they will give you the time to explore it. Because remember, at the end of the day, you don't want people on your email, you're not going to try and convince people to buy your product in an email. The goal of your email is to convince people it's worth having a conversation. They're 2 different things. Convincing somebody to buy your stuff is about making a strong case for your product.
But you know what's the problem there? Sorry to interrupt you, Dean. It comes from the old way of doing business, which was you made a phone call, no answer, no sell, but you ticked the box, you've done it. You felt, job done. People do an email and do a long email. Doesn't matter what they put in there, they've sent it and they feel relaxed. I've done it.
Actually, no. Sometimes the more effort they put in makes them reward, but actually it's the result that comes out.
Yeah.
That's what.
And you mentioned a good thing, because the goal of the email is to get people interested enough to go onto a call with you.
Yeah, and that's where you can explain how you can help and the services you offer. If you try and put that into the email, you end up in a situation where you have to do too much with one medium, and they will decide, come on, let's be realistic. If I put a document in front of you about how I can help you grow your business, I will write stuff out, and some of the stuff that I put in there, you'll have probably heard other people say. You might have even tried some of the things you've said yourself. So when I do that, I am putting a document in your hands and allowing you the opportunity to interpret it without any involvement of me.
And making a decision on it.
Yes. So when I do an email in the wrong way, I'm literally putting the power into the prospect's hands to interpret my intentions, to interpret my products and services in a particular way, and they will either decide based on their interpretation how they should reply or respond or not. When we flip it the other way and we show them how we've done our research and how we believe we can help them with these challenges and these opportunities, and we create the curiosity without overloading it with sales pitch waffle or anything like that, there's no frame of reference for them to go, oh, what's this, what's this? And so they come to the call wanting to know more, and then you can apply the context. So if they come and go, oh, we've actually tried this before, you know, that's similar, but it's not the same. Let me explain the differences. But you don't have that opportunity in an email. So hyper-personalized, curiosity-driven email will actually be more effective. You might send 12 of them in one day, but actually you'll get more meaningful replies, more effective replies, and better return on investment from sending 12 than 200, because you're investing the time to create the curiosity. People respect that you've took that time, and so they give you the opportunity to expand and explain.
Yep.
So hyper-personalized email, big win for you. There's a lot to it, but once you master it and get it implemented, it's actually sustainable, it's scalable. And you think about it, if you can get 10 or 15 bites from 100, yeah, then what does that mean for your business? What does that mean for your pipeline? What does that mean for your revenue? If you know what your conversion rate is off a call, surely the goal is to get more calls. And if you get more calls, you convert more business. But sometimes when we're doing cold email or automated email, what happens is we sacrifice conversion for volume, when in reality what we should be doing is sacrificing volume for conversion. And so what happens is you get more results, less emails, instead of more emails, less results.
Yep.
So just a quick reminder, it's different from cold email. So cold email, I think we can see it here on screen. Cold email's the classic statistic, and this is actually taken from a company who does it, so I'm not stealing. I'm not making figures up. Their success rate is from 1,000 outreaches, you'll get 4 sales. So that's what their estimates are. So it's different from the classic cold email. It has a 10 times more effective reply and open rate. It makes a shorter deal conversion time because the validation is quicker. There's more effort put in at the front end. You increase the conversion success. There's no automation, as we've said. But it does need to be strategic in the way you do it. And of course, if you're selling a $500 product, it's probably not the best way to do it. If you're selling something for $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $100,000, then of course it's the best way to do it. So this next one, given the last 2 years, you may think has been overused, but it hasn't. Webinars have been used far too often as almost shopping channel, buy now, sell, 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 sell stuff. And people have checked out of those. They're gone. They're not interested. But people are interested in webinars that speak to their needs, webinars that speak to the challenges that they have. So generally right now you see 2 types of webinars. You see the webinar where it's sell, 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 almost like an infomercial or you know, shopping channel. And then we should do like a little pop-up on the side here now with, we have 15 of these available. And as you can see, when I put this on, no, I'm joking.
With the clock on it.
That was my impression of a shopping channel. So you see the shopping channel sales pitch ones, and then you see the product ones, and the product ones are more insightful, but they're very focused around a topic or a product or service. But for many people, they don't see the need for the product, and so they don't attend. So what you find is that these ones have no value but are highly attended, and these ones over here have lots of value, but people don't see the need to attend. So the hybrid of those two is actually a need-specific webinar. So not about a product, not about selling something, but educational around the product to establish your authority in the market.
So would you also say a webinar that addresses the pain?
Yes. So think about your own products and services and think about what are the challenges that customers might have or potential customers might have right now that you know your product or service can help them with. Now, you're not going to sell, you're not going to hard pitch people in your webinar, but you can educate into their pain or their challenge or their difficulty or their goals and aspirations and opportunities around what you sell. So you draw a crowd of people who resonate with the issues that your product or service fixes. These webinars are powerful, they're educational, they have value, but actually what you're doing is drawing a crowd around you. Like now, this is one of them. Like now, we're drawing a crowd of people who want to get some more strategy in their business to grow their sales, get more clients, convert more higher paying clients. So we're adding value.
And also you're doing something else. People are starting to taste you.
Yes. So in any scenario like this, one of the big advantages of webinars is, of course, you are getting people to appreciate you and get to know you better. They get to know my personality, they get to know Vasco's personality, they get to understand how we respond and how we communicate. You see the whites of our eyes. So these kind of webinars are good to educate, to inform, but also to build a community around you of people who resonate with that need. That means that when they need further help, they already recognize and accept you as an expert or as having expert authority, as we would say, to speak into their world and provide them with solutions to the challenges they face.
And when an issue pops up regarding that, they'll remember you.
Yes.
Oh, that's the guy that spoke in the webinar.
You're setting yourself apart. Now, we've been doing these webinars, webcasts as we call them, we've been doing these for 2 years.
Well, no, more. 2 years was the P word that no one mentions.
Yeah, 2 years digitally, but 3 years before that in person.
In person.
So we've been doing this method for 5 years and built, what, over 100, no, it's over 250,000. Over 250,000 people have attended one of our things, and our business has grown as a result. Do we follow up people where we think we can help? Of course. Do we hound them? No. Do we add more value and to a wider audience than the potential customer base? Yeah. Some people will come to our webinars, and this is something you have to accept. Some people will come to your webinars, you'll give them some really good ideas, and they'll go away and do them without you.
And there's a principle to this.
But some people will go away and go, this is really insightful, I need to get the experts in. And you've elevated yourself above your competitors. Vasco, what you were going to say, there's a principle to it.
No, there's a principle, which is the more outbound you do, then the more inbound you get. And in the beginning, you just feel, you're just doing outbound. And we felt this in the beginning.
Yeah.
We're doing loads of stuff. And all of a sudden, the inbound overwhelms you. And it gets to a point you say, I'm doing this right. I'm getting these, connections. I'm getting these messages. I'm getting people phoning me trying to find out more.
Yeah, and as a scenario, when you put this into context, as a company, through doing this process, we get, I don't know, maybe 200 inquiries a week coming through, organic inquiries coming through. Why? Because we've set out our stall, we give value to a lot more people than we can sell to, which some would say is a waste of time, but actually those people who get value and go away and go do it themselves or what have you, will be your advocates and help you build your brand. So there's a short-term mentality to some of these tactics that we're saying is, actually, you can do a webinar, and you can do a webinar in the next month. Pretty much, in the next 30 days, you can do a webinar. And if you put a concerted effort behind it, you will get target clients to that webinar. And you will convert some of those target clients off the back of the webinar. But you will also have, let's say 90% of the attendees will go away and have a positive impression of you and tell other people. You cannot put a price on top of mind and word of mouth marketing. It's still the best. So imagine if you get, and we teach this in our accelerator program, to go, we're going to launch a webinar, we're going to focus it around our needs and challenges that our customers have, and we're going to get 200 people to it, and off the back of it, we're going to sell some stuff. But we're also going to help build our brand.
And it's interesting you mentioned this, because we have taught a huge number of our clients to do this, and now it's become part of their business process.
Yeah.
It's part of their business plan.
It's a mechanic of marketing and sales to do these things, to go and think about it. What we're really saying here is, if you do a webinar, what you're doing is taking the friction out of the sales process.
Yep.
You're removing some of the barriers to the sales process by elevating your expert authority. And again, this kind of setup also plays into some of the principles of persuasion that help influence people to buy from you. So webinars are really powerful, just to sum up. So they attract people who have a need. If you build the webinars around the needs of your customers, not your product, you actually attract people who have a need, who resonate with the problems that you're going to be speaking about. Many webinars, they focus on non-problems. They focus on topics, insights in the industry. They attract interested people, but not interested buyers. They attract people who are curious, but not about buying your stuff. They attract people who have a need, but not a need for you. So that's why we do them around the needs that your product or service fixes.
So probably some of the people on that side are thinking, great idea, I want to do this.
Yeah.
How do I do it?
Well,
can you point again?
Drop us an email. We'll do a strategy call for free, and we can walk you through how to do it. And if you want our help to engineer the process so you get the 200 people there, we'll do it. So just one more thing. Webinars allow you to reach a wider audience than what you currently have. You don't need ads. You don't need ads to fill it. You can fill it organically very easily. You can fill it really easily. And finally, you build your webinars and structure them in a very particular way so you can follow them up. So you've got people to follow up. So there's a structure to putting the webinars together to build your authority, attract the right people who need you, and actually create a mechanism to follow up and engage with them that's not just dump them in the newsletter.
Yeah.
So land and expand. Basco, it feels like old times, doesn't it?
It does.
So land and expand is something that big corporate consultancy companies do very well. And more small businesses are adapting this model too.
Yes.
And some tech companies are using a version of it as well, with what we call freemium and premium and all those things. So the principle of land and expand is actually very, very simple. It's actually to onboard a new client, to engage a new customer, is quite a costly exercise. And there's a lot of validation, a lot of verification, a lot of
and they didn't even know who you are.
confidence. Yeah, you've got to do a lot to convert somebody, as particularly if your sale value is quite high. So in technology services, in big contracts, big product offerings, it's quite a lot to get people to move. And so what you see is that deal cycles take a long time. And it takes a long time for people to make a decision. So land and expand is a way of getting your foot in the door, so to speak. what you will do is create a gateway product or service. So a service that's connected to your main offering, but actually serves as a doorway to open a new opportunity. For it, I'll give you an example. I'll use very simple numbers for this, but this is being used in the millions and the tens of millions to unlock big deals, which if you get this and implement it, whether you're a solopreneur or CEO, this will be, it'll unlock so many sales and shorten so many deal cycles. And it'll also fund your revenue ramp up for salespeople. So let's say you create this gateway product or service. And let's say your main service is £100,000 or $100,000. You would create a gateway service which would be $5,000. And the idea being is that it's connected to the main service, but it actually stands alone, that people can buy and go, I can engage with that, I can have a positive experience with that. But it gives you the opportunity to establish a client relationship and find the compelling reason that they need the $100,000 product or service.
And this is when you cross-sell and you upsell.
Yeah, it's an upselling and cross-selling tool, but it has to be linked to the main offering. If it's not linked to the main offering, what happens is it's a cross-sell. And then the cross-sell is, it's still good, but the land and expand is the principle of I get my foot in the door, I get them on board as a client, and I grow the offering of the service.
Which is interesting we're talking about this, because there are many, many businesses out there that are fighting for the next best thing. They're fighting for the new client.
Yeah.
And they forget they've already landed in some huge companies and they haven't expanded because they're too busy looking for the new client.
Yeah.
And they've got it in-house.
Yeah. So land and expand is a way to create a stepping stone service. That's probably the easiest way. You offer this to the market. It can help you get in where there's competition already in place, because you can offer a complementary service that adds on to what maybe they're already in contract for the main service you offer, but it gets you through the door, it gets you in the door, and because you're selling something different, they're not going to compare it to what they've already got and go, we're not looking to change that, thanks, because you're offering something that's not that, and that gets you on board, get them on board as a client, and then you can expand that relationship and develop the opportunity within the
At the end of the day, they've tasted you. They've seen what you can do.
There's a theme here, right?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there's a theme here. Shorter deal cycles, the works. So you leverage and open new sales opportunities with this. You can outmaneuver your competition. You remember, we've done this with a technology company.
Yes.
So we did a strategy session with a technology company a number of years ago, and one of their challenges was their deal cycle was about 3 years. Some people would be tied down for 3 years. So they'd be sat on accounts that they wanted to develop, knowing full well they couldn't do anything for 3 years, 18 months, 24 months, whatever the contract length was. So they'd have to sit it out and wait and hope that the client would still give them the opportunity down the line. They'd have a good conversation today, but actually they know that it's 18 months away. So the prospect would say to them, come back to me in 12 months and we'll look at it again, but I'm really interested. By the time you get to that 12 months, they can't remember you, they've gone cold.
And some of the people that they were talking to
have left. So the idea is that with this proposition, what we did is we created a complementary proposition that allowed them to get a third party's opinion so that they could get external advice, a bit like having a corporate challenge. In other words, if you were getting advice here, is there a separate piece of advice or an alternative?
Yeah.
So in other words, you are always looking to challenge your own bias internally around technology and platforms and stuff. So you'd bring in those people to give you an alternative view of technology solutions and to offer impartial, not connected, no dealer, no partner pushed things. So it'd be a minimal fee, and basically they explain the challenge, explain the proposal of their technology provider, and they would go and counterbalance alternatives.
And they created 2 revenues then.
Yeah, it's a sense check, basically. A corporate sense check, which, why would somebody do that? Number one, it stops them just being presented with the best proposal from the competitor. In other words, if the competitor's tied up with particular vendors, they can get a different viewpoint. Number two, it gave the decision maker more of a justification to think about saying, I've done some research, I got another party to recommend things, and the idea of our client was to actually give them the best advice, even if it was go with that competitor. So the client got impartial advice, but it also gave our client the opportunity to inspect what the competitor was doing and could say, well, here's an alternative, and allows them to establish a relationship with a client who would have said, come back to me in 12 or 18 months when the contract's up for renewal. So land and expand is very effective at outmaneuvering the competition. You can engage in an audience using an intent framework. So if you wanted to do a free version of the land and expand, you can build up different types of land and expand, like a free one that leads to a slightly smaller paid one that leads to a slightly bigger one. So you can use different ones. We call it intent frameworks or intent thresholds. So a land and expand could have a free version. It could have a high commitment or a micro commitment. And then it could have a higher commitment, which might be the $5,000 one so then they're a client and then you grow the account. So, and you could, in the free version, use some resources to actually get people, so it could be white papers, it could be audits, it could be frameworks, it could be anything like that you can use on the free end. But you could also do an assessment, which is on a paid version as well. Yeah. And lots of our clients have grown their business by using land and expand, even if it's just a $5,000 engagement that they've actually grown. And one of our clients uses a $15,000 engagement to grow a $4 million engagement. So it is a proven way to grow a client.
And it works perfectly.
Yeah.
It works very, very perfectly.
There's some mechanics involved, there's some strategy involved. This is probably something that will take a little time to develop, but land and expand, you could be up and running pretty much within a month with what I call a field tested product. In other words, it's the version 1.0 that you launch to the market, get some sales, and then expand the relationships. They don't have to be expensive, but if you're a solopreneur, it might be a $250 thing. It might not be a big $5,000 or $100,000 land and expand. It's for some of you, it might be a $5,000 little thing. So land and expand. Now, one of my favorites.
I was waiting for that one.
Most people don't get social selling. I'll just say that now. Most people think social selling is going on LinkedIn and pitching people. That's not social selling. Social selling is, like everything here, we're taking the friction out of the sales process. And so if you do social selling right, not just pitch people and tell them how wonderful you are, you can actually develop a relationship before you pitch. You can warm that cold call. You can warm that first email. You can warm that first direct message by implementing social selling, where you build and choose to deliberately build relationships with content and with communication.
And it's interesting because it's different from what happened before. You start nurturing the prospect before you talk to him.
So in classic sales, you get a bite, remember that, bite, and then you nurture that till you get a deal. In social selling, you nurture to get the bite. And so you convert more calls and you convert more deals, because all of that validation, the credibility piece, the relationship piece is built, even if it's just to a minimal level, so that first call, that follow-up becomes easier. And doing social selling the right way, you can use multi-channel behavior, to actually influence the way a prospect behaves around you.
For example, on LinkedIn, when you're trying to connect with people, if you do this, it increases your results in a positive way by 150%.
Yeah, it'll treble the results. Because what we know is that with cold pitching, the success rate is below 1%. We know that with cold connecting, it's below 15%. So if you do social selling in the right way, you can influence through content. So you can use what we call selling with influence through content. And then you can build the relationships, prime your prospects through a relationship building exercise to actually get to that first call, so that that first call is warm, that first conversation is warm. It's not cold, it's not you trying to fight and not fight, but you know, the battle of getting a cold lead to engage with you.
In the end, they already know you.
Yeah, and of course, the other big thing here, the show-up rate is miles better.
Oh yeah, it's very, very good.
So social selling is brilliant for this. You can create a relationship with a target client and get the client relationship advantage, because you're building, as Vasco says, you're nurturing before you pitch.
Yep. And there you go.
Yeah, we call it priming. So you can use the social media as a priming tool. When we talk about priming, we're talking about a full integration of sales and marketing in content and in relationship building. So priming is that integrated connection between sales and marketing. So the marketing complements the sales aspect and the sales aspect complements the marketing. All comes together. I tell you now, if more companies linked sales and marketing together, they would be absolutely unstoppable. But at the, you know, the more I go around, I hear from companies going, we've got a sales problem. Why have we got a sales problem? Because the leads we're getting from marketing aren't great. Or marketing say the salespeople aren't converting the leads. They're lazy. They don't put the effort in. They don't do what's... And it's like, no,
it's a blame game.
Guys, come together. Work this out. Sort this out. You have loads of opportunity. I'll give you one example, and I'm not picking on a marketing department here, but I'll give you an example. This happened to me, and it was surreal. I'm on a conversation with a head of a marketing department. I was talking about how the marketing department could help the salespeople generate their own leads. And it was like, yeah, that sounds good. I can see how this could work in our business. So I didn't get the deal. But you won't believe why I got, well, you might know. You won't believe why I didn't get the deal. I didn't get the deal because the marketing department team get a bonus if they generate more leads.
I remember that.
If they get more leads over a certain threshold that they supply to the sales team. So that
they're not worried about conversion at all.
No, but the point was the marketing team didn't want the salespeople to be able to generate their own leads because they'd lose commission. Yeah. They'd lose their bonus. And I was like, oh my, I can't help you. I was like frustrated, but I could understand it from their perspective. If they're targeted and their performance is judged by how many leads they pass to sales, and then they help the sales do it themselves, what happens to their performance? What happens to their bonus? And so sometimes what happens is, inadvertently within companies, systems are set up that actually make the sales and marketing team not work together, where there's a power game, there's budget fights, there's all of those things that come together.
But they are set to fail.
Yeah, but it comes from the culture of the company and one side of that department, whether it's sales or marketing, being the bigger department to go, let's bring this together. Let's make this work.
I totally get that, because many years ago I worked in this company. We had to produce the leads, and the marketing department's only worry was producing leads. If they were good, if they were bad, didn't matter. This was the number. Mm-hmm. If they produced that number, all good. Then the sales department had this huge problem, which is these leads I can't work with, I can't convert into sales, but at the end of the day, who got their head bashed was the sales team. Always.
So if you do social selling in the right way, whatever channel it is, you can join the sales and the marketing together, which means your brand reach, your messaging, your content, your eyeballs go up. Yep. Marketing box ticked. Your inbound leads go up. Marketing box ticked. Your sales team's leads, conversion, conversations, SQLs, all of that goes up. It's a win-win, but it does take some guts for sales and marketing to actually come together. So if that's something you look at, social selling is key, but it's not to be done in isolation and have the company page and the marketing team doing this and the salespeople doing this, because actually aligning the two together, the salespeople for the marketers here, the salespeople are the biggest web traffic asset you can have. Yeah, the marketing people on this session today, the salespeople are the biggest web traffic tool you can have. Salespeople, the marketing team can provide you with content and can develop content with you to actually make it easier for you to close deals, to pre-sell your prospects through content. So the two elements complement each other. Marketing wins and sales wins. Social selling is brilliant. You can be a small business and do social selling, by the way. One of the things I would say, though, with social selling, and I'm just being realistic, if you're selling a low-value product, you probably don't want to waste a lot of time on a prospect, because if your margin's only $100, you don't want to spend 3 hours trying to convert a prospect. So there are strategies, bigger strategies, where you can sell en masse. And I'm not meaning automation here. I'm talking about different ways to use the platform to generate leads and sales. But for what I'm talking about here, if you've got a high value product or service, $5,000 plus, social selling is an absolute win. Your conversion rate goes up, your brand reach goes up, and ultimately, if people know your company's name, if people know what you do, if people know the challenges and problems you fix, you will attract inbound inquiries. There's some mechanics that need to be put in place, but you will attract inbound inquiries. Now we lead into the next piece here, which is content marketing. So content marketing, I put this in because a lot of people miss this. The biggest source of inbound leads is content marketing. Biggest source by far. Even now, with everybody producing content, it is the biggest source of inbound leads for your business, whether you are multinational, you're a global company, or you're a solopreneur. The downside is you have to put some effort in because you're building an asset. Your content is an asset that makes you money. But if you think about it as a case of, oh, well, I don't want to spend 2 hours building this piece of content and this resource, what will happen is you'll skip it to favor low-hanging fruit activities. And low-hanging fruit activities generally yield a little bit of fruit and then they run out. So content marketing is a tool where lead magnets, blogs, videos, all of that stuff is a tool to attract clients. But again, you have to join up sales and marketing, because what lots of people do is get people really excited about a blog post, get really excited about this lead magnet they've just downloaded, and dump people into a newsletter. So we get people really interested, newsletter, and it's like, why have you not lined that up with the sales team so the sales team can follow up and say, thanks for downloading that, thanks for engaging with that, could we have a conversation about this?
No, because they're doing more marketing. At the end of the day, that's what they're doing, more marketing.
Yeah, more marketing in a cycle, more and more and more. And it's a washing machine, and you're hoping that some stuff falls out.
Yeah.
But actually, if you build your content marketing in the right way, it sets your sales up. Instead of trying to rinse a newsletter list, you set up the sale. Marketing has the potential to set up the sale. So blogs, videos, all of that stuff done in the right way. And again, we've got some resources on this. So if you want some resources on content marketing, you can email us hello@maverick.com and we'll send you some of our resources, content that converts, PDF book, which will help you understand, how do I set up the content? How do I create the content that sets up the sale? And it's all around understanding your product, your service deeply enough, and understanding your target market. And once you do that, you're able to basically use marketing to set up the sale.
Yeah.
Anything to add on that one?
No.
So content marketing is done right will drag traffic to your site, to your website. You can use content to find what we call the pitch point. In other words, the point where the customer is ready for a conversation. But most people, what they do is they build all these up. They either build them up and let them go cold, number one, or number two, they build them all up and dump them in a newsletter. They don't
simply don't do anything.
Or don't do anything. They don't build them up to put them into a process for the sales team. So you can develop a wider reach with content marketing. So content marketing can pre-sell, so it can get out to the world and tell people about you before you even know who they are. So whilst you're sat there going, I've just wrote this blog could be working for you for the next 6 years, educating people, helping people. It might not be thousands every week, it might not be thousands every month, but you'll be surprised those multi-touch points that you need to convince a prospect to buy from you. Actually, it's key that you think about actually one piece of content could actually serve me for a long period of time. And I'll give you one example. We have one blog on our website, one blog. It's probably 2 years old now, and it still brings 300-ish visitors to our website, new visitors every week. Every single week, this one blog. Now that might not convert people on its own, but it's one more touch point. It's one more time people know the Maverick name. It's one more time people learn from us.
And talk about us.
And then some of those people might go to the company page and follow us on LinkedIn. Some of them might come to a webinar or webcast. It's a touch point. And if you've got this resource floating around online that people can consume, it's only going to help build your brand, build your reach, build your influence, and attract more clients. But if you do the right content.
I was going to talk about that because one of the problems that exists out there is that people keep on looking at themselves. I'm the best.
Yeah.
I know best.
Navel gazing. Telling people about how wonderful you are will not convince them why they need you. If they already realize why they need you and they're just trying to prove to themselves, that's where your awards and your case studies kind of come in. But for the vast majority of what you're doing, you have to get them to recognize their need for you first. And content can be key in helping people understand their need. And it can also be key in helping you drive more leads and inbound inquiries, because you can tell people, literally tell people, if you have this issue, complete the form.
And the thing is, when you write it correctly and you address the pain of the person or the business, they're going to go, he's talking my language. Yeah. He knows me. You know?
What you mean, instead of the gobbledygook that most people put in there, where it's almost like they're talking to themselves.
And then you go into something you enjoy talking about, which is, we are the paracetamol to your pain, and this is how it works. And what you do is, you don't give the solution, you give the opportunity of people say, hang on, these guys know my pain, these guys have the solution, I need to talk to them.
And most people underestimate the power of what I call diagnosis. Helping people understand their pain better is actually one of the biggest ways to gain influence with your market and your prospects. Insight, it comes when you give people an enlightening. Their mind opens, their ideas expand. And the first level of insight, and the most powerful level of insight, is helping people understand where they are right now better. And when they do that, they see their own need for something different. You can't, I want to use an example. I want to use an example, but it might be a little insensitive, so you'll have to forgive me. If somebody has a problem in their life, an addiction of some kind, a problem that's holding them back, your product or service, by the way, fixes a problem that's holding a business back. In some way, what you sell, what you do, holds somebody back. The first thing anybody with a problem, an addiction for an example, has to do is admit their own issue. And your job is to help them see. They have to admit it to themselves, not just, you can't label them. If you label somebody, it doesn't mean that they'll accept what you're saying. If you tell people this is your problem, it doesn't mean they'll listen. But what you can do is give them signals that show them, yeah, this is right. These guys know what they're talking about. Yeah, that's my issue. And you help them diagnose themselves. You help them admit their issue. And when they do that, then you can really help them. And that's where the content and the power of content done in the right way can unlock real value, not just now, but for weeks, months, and years. Like I said, 2 years ago, we wrote a blog on our website that is still bringing us 300 visitors a week, new visitors every single week, because we invested in the content. Now, if I'd have been short-term about it, I would have gone, oh, let's not bother with the blogs. I just want leads. Go pitch people, go send message. No, I'm trying to think about how can I make it easier to sell in 2023 than it was in 2022. And so I'm investing in content today that will have a payoff in the future, and I'm reaping the rewards of content that was produced in 2021. Now, I'm using years as an example there, but that's the reality. Sometimes content pays off big time in a year's time. Sometimes content pays off immediately. Sometimes content pays off in the same week, the same month. But the more you do it, the sharper you get at using it to generate leads and sales. But if you don't do it, you won't know it, and you'll never benefit from it.
And I want to share another analogy regarding this, is that when you write things, it's like you've got a toothache, and what you want is a solution to that toothache. You're not worried about where the ointment comes in, if it's in a beautiful design bottle, if it's ergonomic, you don't care. What you care is that it takes the pain out.
Yep.
You worry about those things later on, you might look at it, but what you want is a solution. And that's what people are looking for, it's to the solution of that problem. Mm-hmm. So instead of going around saying how beautiful this is, how lovely it works, people don't care. They care about solving the problem.
Will it get rid of my pain?
Yeah.
And all of these strategies that we've shared tonight, all are linked to, if you understand your customers' pain points, the challenges that they face, because they don't have you in their world, you can use any of these strategies to build more sales, increase sales, but actually build a bigger pipeline and scale the business up. But one more thing, the more you speak to the customer's pain and the more you get that message sharp, the more valuable your service becomes. Not because, now it's not made of copper, it's made of gold, because people see that you understand it. And so your credibility rises, your expert status rises, and so people are going, yeah, but you're the right choice. And that's why people pay more to use experts than amateurs, because there's a belief that the expert will have a better solution and a better way of doing it than the amateur. And generally that's true. But sometimes, and some of you watching this have experienced this, you've been the expert and you've lost to the amateur because the amateur has positioned themselves that they are the expert, and you've missed a trick there and lost business to the amateur.
And we've seen that quite a lot.
This is a positioning issue that's around your value prop, your messaging, and the way you're targeting people. So I've gone over time, we've gone over time, so we've got to finish. But look, if you want a copy of this little book, happy to email it to you. If you'd like to talk, I was going to say talk turkey, which is a very British phrase here. If you'd like to really talk to us seriously about how you implement this stuff, and if you've had that,
big screen?
If you've had that scenario where you've lost to the amateur, but you're the expert, maybe it's time to talk to us so that we can fix that issue once and for all, so you can position yourself as the expert, charge the right fees, and convert clients, knocking out the friction and the feeling of having to fight for every client. So if you'd like a copy of this, drop us an email. You can also email us there if you want to call, or you want to talk to us, or schedule a strategy session. But as I'm over time, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Vasco, for jumping on with me.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure, and thank you.
And we'll see you at the next session, where we'll be helping you with more webcast stuff to help you grow your business and convert more clients.
Past year, Maverick has helped generate more than 15 million in new business. The biggest reason for this is our 90-day training and implementation platform we call the Accelerator Program, where we teach your team to sell on social media with an implement-as-you-go strategy. It's not a pre-recorded course, it's hands-on sales training that develops and grows with you, with 90 days of real action that generates business and long-term revenue. So who is it for? This program is for entrepreneurs, marketing and sales professionals who want to sell without ads, cold calling, or pushy tactics. A better way of selling with real steps steps to take which speeds up your sales process without burning any bridges. These are just a few examples of results our members have achieved using the Accelerator. As you can see, the Accelerator isn't about quick wins, it's about building a better sales process. If you'd like to learn more, just book a call with the Maverick team and we'll show you how the Accelerator program can win you new business.